Welcome everyone to Nothing Less Than Extraordinary. I got the beautiful Lea Tran with me. Welcome to the show, Lee.
Hello.
I love Lee because I actually got to meet her in Florida about a week ago, and she is just a bubble of joy. So much vitality, so much inspiration. You'll get to know her. She's just an amazing individual. But what I really love most about her is she loves life and she takes it as it comes. She just goes with the flow. She's a fantastic lady. So let me just do a brief intro of Lee, okay? So Lee is a former boat people refugee. She has turned her journey of survival into a mission of service. From fleeing Vietnam to building a life as a scientist, entrepreneur, speaker, story coach, she's now dedicated her voice to empowering other, and empowering is what she really does. Um, so her memoir, I Did Not Miss the Boat, reflects her path from adversity to healing, inspiring others to find strength in their own stories. When her husband suffered a stroke, Lee proposed purpose deepened. She became an advocate for financial preparedness, ensuring families are equipped for life uncertainty. Through Living Benefit, she educates community, churches, women's group on financial security, resilient, and faith-driven planning. Lee speaks not for recognition, but to serve, helping others heal, find confidence, and walk boldly into a future of stability and peace. It could not be better described. Thank you so much, Lee, for being with us. She is an inspiration.
Thank you, Ree. I'm so honored to be here. And bubbleness is, I think, like attract light. So it speak for who you attract is the person who you are. So I am super, super honored to be here and to be with your audience. And thank you so much for giving me a chance to meet you in person. That was so cool and had so much fun.
It was awesome. We even did a live, but honestly, I am so grateful. Lee drove like 50 minutes or so just to come and meet with me and spend some
That's
time.
nothing compared to Montreal to come all the way down here. 40, 50 minutes is nothing.
I know, but that's why I love you. Most people be like, I just stay at home, but not Lee. She decided I'm going to come and meet you, and we had a blast. And I'm so grateful because now we're here doing the podcast. And you see back there in the background, I Did Not Miss the Boat is her book, and she's actually going to be writing a second one, which I'll get a chance to talk a little bit, but we'll give the sneak peek into that a little bit after. But I really want to honor Lee's story of all the thing that she's gone through for not having missed a boat, but how she kind of grew up. And that's what I wanted people to take away from is how she became this feisty woman who is outspoken, who is giving a voice to other people. She has her podcast with Sarah M, which is my friend as well. And her podcast is amazing. It all started during COVID, giving people an outlet, a place where they can come and really feel safe and to be inspired. So, talk to us a little bit more about your podcast.
Oh my God. I think COVID is a blessing in disguise that so many of us don't even recognize. Um, a lot of things that can turn around in your adversity. And I think COVID is one of the adversity that we as a worldwide people have experienced it. And I said to myself, at that time, we've been through all of this. And I called Sarah up. I was like, you know what? I got really triggered with traumas and PTSD from all this thing that brought me back to the period that when Vietnam was taken over by the communists and how we have to flee Vietnam and as
Mhm.
a boat refugees. And, so many things happened that somehow it just all turning back and I couldn't sleep at night and I would walk around the house at nights looking for an outlet. And home below, I called Sarah up because I met her exactly a month before that doing Valentine's Day. And she inspired me to write my book because Sarah had a book at that time. And I was like, wow, I have a 40-year stories on my back that I carry on every day. And I need to get it out, let it go. And I know I'm not alone. A lot of people have traumatic story, things that they bear and sit on top of their chest and they on their shoulder, on their back. They couldn't let go because it's so painful to go back there and dig it out and let it go. So I took that COVID opportunity that where we were locked in. I
Mhm.
can't be bubbling and running around, meet people anymore. So I changed myself to the desk and not just writing the story, but also learning how to be a coach, learning, taking a lot of classes to be a storyteller and speaking on Zoom, facing the camera. I just like so many babies that I gave birth to during that COVID.
Mhm.
And I actually gave birth to a book baby 6 months later, and it felt so good. It felt release. It felt a lot of healing, not
Mhm.
immediately, but the more I talk about it, the more that I speaking to my late father that had passed away, very early age, only 7 years when we settled in America. He was only 50. And then we also give birth to a podcast.
Mhm.
And we call it From Surviving to Thriving. So Sarah and I are co-hosting, and we're just shining spotlights, giving a platform for people to come and be brave and share their story. And hopefully that from speaking and sharing, it'll take them to the next step about writing and let that story be ink on paper and let other people inspire about the atrocity that they went through,
Mhm.
because adversities always come with a lesson, right? And the more adversity you have, the more lesson that you learn. So why keep it to yourself?
Mhm.
Make it um, make it an inspiration and let people draw the courage from
Yes.
your story, because they themselves have their own story as well.
And I love that about you. Your story is that one of the thing as we were talking about your story and how you kind of grew up from the culture that we like for a lot of Asian women, for us, we were talking about it. Like a lot of Asian people are kind of like in the background, used to not be in the spotlight. We don't really particularly like being in the spotlight, except for Lee and I.
It's just like a muscle that you train, right? You go to the gym long enough, you start like, okay, I hear you, Ree. I mean, a lot of us Asian women
Yeah.
um, did not give allow or given the opportunity to speak our voice.
Yeah.
We were actually we were suppressed, and
Mhm.
it's like, a woman, you
Yes.
don't talk,
Yep.
you listen. You let your dad take care of you. You let your husband take care of you. And if
Mhm.
anything, you let your son take care of you. You are not the person to be the head of the household. And
Mhm.
that's how we were taught.
Mhm.
And it was really hard. I have to break that mold little by little. And I think, you don't talk to the public, but you do share with friends. So start with that. Start
Mhm.
sharing with your friends, your close friends, and then people that have interest in your story. Because even a lot of people are not friends, but it's like, oh, tell me more. How
Mhm.
did you get out? How did you, go through that?
Yeah.
So if you tell it enough, and then I was in the chamber, and somebody said, oh, your story, you need to be on the TEDx. I was like, ooh, TEDx. That is for somebody who has like a grand idea, like you always undervalue yourself.
Yeah.
You always underestimate your power, and you never see the extraordinary inside your ordinary, just like what Ree is doing right now. I mean, a lot of us have that significance that we tend to undermine it. And so I was like, ooh, okay, let me apply. And one shot, how many people actually apply many, many times with TEDx? And I was so lucky. And I listened to her, always surround yourself with somebody who will lift you up and
Mhm.
see you as a person that will bring light. With when you have a true story, there's a lot of people who kind of butter you up for no reason that you can tell too. But if some
Mhm.
people are sincerely see the greatness in you, take that advice. So I took that advice, and home below, after one application, I got called and it's like, we want to hear your story.
Mhm.
So that's where it began. And it took a lot of training. Obviously, I hire a lot of coaches.
Hmm.
I was in Toastmaster, like
Hmm.
crazy, learning how to speak, learning how to craft my own story in a way that is logical, not babbling. When
Hmm.
we don't
Hmm.
talk well, we tend to babble instead of speak.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yeah, lots of learning, and I took that skill and I did it and applied it into the TEDx platform, applied it into my story writing skill, and then eventually I certified as a coach, and I teach people how to do branding story and story for legacy. And one advice is like your stories meant to be for others, not for you to keep.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Oh my
So
God.
anyway, I'm inviting. Yeah, I'm talking a lot from just one question from you.
It's okay.
The
That's what it's
podcast
for.
was one of the product, one of our baby, and it will be 5 years old
I
by
know.
March 24th. So
It's
if you have
crazy.
not been
Hmm.
to our podcast, and Ree has been now on our podcast
Hmm.
twice. Um, and we constantly looking for empowerment story so we
Hmm.
can share with the world. And it will be 5 years old, and then my book will be 5 years old in this September as well. And that's why I have to catch up and start making another milestone by releasing, or at least get my second continuing book to get out, because my first book is only talk about quarter of my life, like 27, 25, 27 years old. um,
Hmm.
and I was talking about, I didn't miss the boats because the
Hmm.
boat was from my dad. He built that boat. But once I
Mm,
get off that boat, now I'm building a ship.
I
I'm going
like
to be the
it.
captain of my own ship. And what life story that I learn, I will put it in there so other people can see that how they themselves can also overcome their
Mhm.
adversity and
Mhm.
creating opportunity for themselves.
There is so many valuable lessons in your book, and but like, I can't imagine because just meeting you in person in a short amount of time, I got so many life lessons. So I cannot imagine all of the nuggets of goals and life lesson in just that book, and it is only a portion, like you said, of your story. So I love the fact that you mentioned like breaking away, breaking free from the mold, which is something that we both kind of touch upon in our discussion. You were telling me about when you were so little, like, following dad's rule and making sure you were running home because you had to make it back by a certain time before dad makes it home. And you had this beautiful dress or pants and you were running, you were in tears because just talk to us about that, breaking away from the mold, the expectation of our culture and then wanting to fit in the Western culture and how you blend the two of them. And kind of like this whole idea of being very quiet in our culture as the female and you don't want to share your opinion, how you become this woman who's outspoken, hilarious, wittiest.
I think wisdom come with age, as you get older, you're just like, what do I got to lose? Just talk. But yeah, I think I'm not myself. I'm not the only one. I think a lot of female, especially Asian female,
Mhm.
they are rule binders, and they are very obedient.
Yes.
One of the biggest things about being a good child
Mhm.
is obedience.
Yes.
And all the little girls out there love to please their fathers and their mothers, and draw within the line, never do anything that might even um, make your parent mad, let alone
Mhm.
embarrassed.
Yes.
That's like the biggest thing. You got to keep things in order. And especially I'm the oldest, so I have
Mhm.
younger siblings that I have to set good example, because
Mhm.
if anything happened that they did wrong, is my responsibility. And I was told when I was little, like, you are the example, and you take care of your brother and sisters, because if they got fall,
Mhm.
or they hurt, or whatever, is you're going to be punished.
Mhm.
And whatever you learn, you teach your brother and sister. So all my life, I'm always pleasing my dad, make my dad and my mom proud, always uh keep my places, just like you You want to be a good kid.
Yeah.
And I am a bubbly, and I'm a very energetic person. So I have I have no problem making friends, especially with my mom's friends. Even when we were young, we have a lot of little business inside the house, and I'm always learn from my cousin, my mom, how to
Hmm.
treat people, how to build relationship, all of that. But I'm always terrified among men. Like,
Hmm.
they remind me of my dad, that sternness and that middle age is almost like, the typical Chinaman sort of disciplines. And, so yeah, at one time I snuck out to go to a party in high school. And of course, I was wearing spike heels and, uh, tight pants, not leather, but almost kind of like that, and frizzy hair, back in the 80s, and have fun. And my dad worked in the restaurant, and he usually get home around 11:30-ish, before midnight. And
Hmm.
I figure if I'm just going to a party, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, I should get home before 11 o'clock. And it was like 14 blocks away, um, in Philly, from West Philly to kind of South Philly, not West Philly to like another part of the Philly, which is going through a lot of bad neighborhoods. And
Okay.
I get a ride there. But when I saw 11 o'clock, oh my God, my heart was just like racing, and it's almost jump out of my chest.
Hmm.
So didn't even say goodbye to my friend. I was like, I got to go home now. I took off my spike heels and ran, shoeless, on the street. It was dark, and it's got a lot of broken glasses. It's a neighborhood that is not a very attractive neighborhood, to be honest. West Philly, it's known for a lot of crime too. And luckily, there's no one out in the street. I got home, and I was like, this cannot happen again. I was running up to my room just minutes before my dad got home, and I cry and cry and cry. And I was like, why people, other girls, uh, like parents are so liberal and let them go party, and all we hear doing on Monday and in homerooms is about what party was fun. And here I was, just one little joy that I couldn't have. And I was just like, swallow the tears and vow that I'll never go to another party and never have another feeling like this.
Hmm.
So when my dad passed away, I learned a little bit more about not afraid of men so much. Just like, oh, he's not here. He can't protect me anymore. But that fear carried me to the adulthood
Hmm.
that I didn't know. I mean, even when I went to networking in the chamber, I have a tendency to avoid talking to men. And I did not realize that. I have all the women's friends, I have all the networking from women, and I joined a lot of women networking groups. But somehow, every time to the chamber, I just kind of like, even at the restaurant or something, I would just find some female to talk to, but I'm shying away from men. And then later on, I realized that what was the root problem. I was like, why? Some of them are even younger than me, but why I am so fearful of talking to them. So it break through a little bit about where my root fear was coming from.
Hmm.
And from that, I trace back, oh, because they have a middleman figure like my father.
Hmm.
And they were like stoic, and they just, I don't know, they just have that appearance. So I work myself, and then realizing it more and more, I would just like trying to see them as my peer instead of my superior or my boss. Even my boss, the same thing. I always do that Wonder Woman pose when I talk to my 6'3" teddy bear boss, who is super nice. But when I was in the scientific world, I always talk to my boss with my superwoman pose. And it come to a place that where you realize it, and then you just, again, work and work and work that muscle. And when I have my entrepreneur, I joined a BNI group, which is a networking group that you pay, a professional group. And turn out men's are really nice. They're not that scary. Every time I do my 30, 60 second, they always like find it funny, humorous. And that kind of ease out. And I like to use a little humor just to ease my fear in the beginning. And then it just become a habit of how can I find that humor, that's something that bubbling, that's something light, and make the conversation genuine and build that relationship.
Mhm.
And that's where I learned to speak. And then again, like I said, the TEDx really gave me a great platform, because then people start inviting me to do keynotes, to speak to their community. And I just keep practicing, like every day, every week, stand in front of the camera, or going to talk in the chamber, or just do it. Just do it.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
love that
Nike is
message.
great. The
Yeah.
Nike is great. I mean, if you fear, the more you fear, the more you avoid it,
Mhm.
the more difficult it is. But just break it, like it didn't, it's easier said than done. I'm still
Yes.
get trembling sometime, when I first did it. And I joined Toastmaster, and every week I have to, I make myself to give the speech. Or if anybody need a speaker, I would raise my hand, even though my brain say no, my hand just keep going up. But it just become not a habit, but unconscious competence, right?
Mhm.
Because a lot of time you will consciously become competent.
Mhm.
But now, if just like driving, you just hop on the car and you drive, and you don't think about you're eating while driving, or you're talking, or don't talk on the phone, just talk to the driver, your passenger. But you can do many things while you're driving unconsciously.
Mhm.
And I was training myself up to the point that I can actually talk without having that fear and that prepare. Now, obviously, if somebody booked me to speak, I want to make sure that I give a speech that relevance to the
Mhm.
audience, to the theme, have a message. But I can actually pretty much speak at any time now, because it just come
Mhm.
because of that habit, of that training,
Yeah.
you could say.
I love that.
Did
You
that
just
answer
show
your
up.
question?
You did, you did. And I love that message because it's just show up and do it. That is the biggest thing is like people think like I gotta be trained, I gotta get practice. If you just show up, you keep doing it and you do it again, consistency over time will actually build that resilience. And one of the things that you mentioned, because there's so many stuff that you had touched on that are so good, like one of the thing that you mentioned about when you are terrified and you're scared. None of us, like Lee and I, are doing this, but it's through practice we actually get better. And when I say that as female, Asian female, we don't like to be in front of the camera. For years, I refused. I was always like more than happy to be in the background. I don't need to see my face and all of that stuff. But I realized that I'm actually good in front of the camera, and that's a part of me that I have to accept, and which is feels weird in the Asian culture because it almost feels like we've been told that if you put yourself out there, you're gonna get judged and who do you think you are to be like, so there's all of those fears that in your head, but then I tell myself because I know fundamentally my intent is good, and I also have to learn to embrace that I am good in front of the camera, and I actually don't mind it. I find it enjoyable when I'm doing podcast. I love hearing stories like your story, and that's more important to me than whatever people see.
Yeah.
It's just a medium that we have to use. The social media is a medium, it's a platform. So I don't focus on that. I just focus on what can I leverage in terms of your story, using your voice to give voice to other people that don't have the ability to do that. And you have so many reflection for people also. Let's say you're struggling with something. And Lee says it so well. Start off small. Maybe start off with families and friends that you trust to kind of build that courage. I used to be a type of person who hates conflict. I would run away from conflict all the time, but I
Yeah.
knew I cannot hide from conflict for the rest of my life. So I better get good at this thing because it's a skill set, it's a must. So
It
I
is.
start small with random stranger of just saying, articulating no. Like let's say they would often cut me in front of a line, and my natural default would be just don't say anything, Reed, just be quiet, let them pass in front of you. But inside I resent them and I lose respect for myself. And the moment I said, I don't want to feel this way, like, when you went home and you were crying because you don't want to feel that way, like other parents give them freedom to their kids, but not you. So I didn't want to feel what I didn't like. And the only way to change that is I have to behave differently. So I actually learned to just gently and kindly just say, no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Practice with people over
So
time.
if I can add
Mhm.
something, I would say
Yeah.
there's so many folds in here that I like to share. Okay, so
Yes.
if you are shy of speaking, and I picked that up when I was giving a speech at the symposium after I graduated from college.
Mhm.
And I was working on this AIDS project. And that year, somehow my name got picked to be speaking with over 200, you know, smart PhD and masters and creme de la creme Ivy Leagues people who graduate from that, and that really was terrifying me. And I made another vow to myself that I would seek um, public speaking so I don't have that feeling anymore. And it started with I didn't start it until I had my business. And so I started with Toastmaster, and Toastmaster is very low budget. You get a community that is a safe space. You can come in and practice your speech. I love the table topic because the table topic is giving you a lot of flexibility, be creative, and you can do it in a few minutes. And I just felt like that is a great way to not find yourself rigid, but be creative in whichever direction you want. No matter what the question throw at you, you can always redirect the direction that you want that question to go. And that's how I learned. So the second thing you were talking about, we females, what was you talking about? So the Toastmasters one thing. Second, see,
Yeah. So
I'm
for us as
already.
female, not liking the spotlight.
That's true. That's true. And again, it was a really great collaborating with people. If you don't have yourself one person's strength, find your crime mate. I was like, find your accountability partner,
Yeah.
somebody that hold you to your feet, to your
Hmm.
fires,
Hmm.
and say that, okay, let's do it together. I mean, I was afraid that I'm not going to stay long on my podcast. That's why I dragged Sarah into the mud. And 5 years later, she's still with me every Monday that we sit through it. And it just formed a really nice friendship. And and together we walk far and distance.
Hmm.
And I think, being nice, you still have to be nice,
Yeah.
but being assertive is different than being aggressive.
Yeah. And let,
Or
let,
yeah,
let's touch upon that because that's actually a good one because a lot of people may think your niceness to mistaken that for a weakness. And
exactly.
yes, and trust me, I've gone through that process and I've actually learned like just recently what that really mean in terms of niceness. So oftentimes is in a friendship, I would always accommodate more of a friend,
Hmm.
willing to do a lot of things that normally I would just say no to people. Like, no, I'm not doing that. But
Yeah,
for a friendship, I'm willing to do a little bit more. But sometimes certain people mistaken that kindness to be like a weaknesses because as
yeah,
they think that you're not capable of saying no. And there's a fine line between niceness and being assertive. And it takes me a while to get to the assertive part. Like when you feel deep inside of you a voice that says, like, that's a line that's about to be crossed and you're not being respected. Not that it's an aggressive thing. When you have something that's coming up your throat and then you tell it to quiet itself down and you push it back down, try to let that practice a little bit at a time. Maybe at the beginning, it's just whispering in your voice. No, I don't want to do that. But you can't say it loud enough to the person. But you can practice over time. Now I've gotten good. Like you said, it's something that my mom will say, no, you shouldn't do it. Then my hand would raise up or my voice would just comes out. I'm at the point where as I get older too, I don't know about you, Lee, but as I get older, I find I don't keep anything within because I don't want anything to block my throat.
Yeah.
So a lot of time is when a thought comes in my head, and they're usually good thoughts, like good positive thought to protect you. But I get so fearful that I'm afraid that people are gonna judge. Now I honor it by that voice coming, and I would softly whisper it like, I don't think that's actually a good idea. Or like I'll come up with a small sentence to protect me by repeating it over to the person that doesn't listen. Some people, you can tell them no, but they don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Well, I always say that, be nice but firm,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You got to set boundary.
Yeah.
And more as I grow older and older, I'm start to realize that I appreciate the friendship, the people that move me, advance me, and put me in a good place, in a happy place, rather than deal with people that you always like hesitate when you pick up the phone, or
Yeah.
you hesitate when you're going to have a meeting with them because you don't know what you're going to say that might
Mhm.
step on their toes, and not purposely, but there's just so many things that it, like I say, it come with wisdom. Age come with wisdom, or wisdom comes with age, because we start seeing that we have something to share, we have something to say, and it
Mhm.
doesn't matter you be quiet or you say something, you're gonna offend somebody, you're gonna please somebody, you're gonna. People
Mhm.
have different opinion. People judge people all the time.
Yeah.
Not saying that we're not. It's like that's a human nature.
Mhm.
We always find people that we align with, or people we don't. Then we was like, oh, But sometimes for me, I think if I want to say something, I would pause,
Mhm.
I would reflect, and
Mhm.
I would find a better choice of words to say it. Because
Mhm.
sometimes in the heat of the moment, you can just spit it out too
Yeah.
fast, and you might not say it in a nicer way,
Mhm.
where sometimes they say it's not what you say but how you say it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of time, and I think there's always good to don't hit that send button just yet.
Mhm.
Read it over, sit through it, send it tomorrow,
Mhm.
and think about that person's position, what you say. If you were the other person, would that hurt them?
Mhm.
And it just, human being is complicated. It is complicated, but you got to do whatever you think that is right, just, and you're not going to be taking advantages of.
Mhm.
Take advantage of people, and you said it just right. Sometimes niceness can be mistaken as weakness.
Mhm.
And as Asian, we have a lot of humility,
Mhm.
humble. We always put other people on top, on the
Yeah.
pedestal. And that's how my parents always teach us to praise other people and put yourself low,
Mhm.
low to the point that sometimes you can't even see it.
Mhm.
and and this is what I learned from American people. It's like, you're not boasting, but you gotta share your talent, and don't say, oh, I don't know. Even though
Mhm.
you have to be balancing, between the compassionate,
Mhm.
between the humility, and not over arrogance.
Yeah.
It's like when people praise us in Vietnam, my parents, and by the way, we're Chinese, but I was born in Vietnam. So
Mhm.
I'm, if I'm confusing you, I'm the minority in Vietnam. But same culture, Vietnamese and Chinese are very similar culture.
Mhm.
They teach their children based on Confucius theory, and everything is through that religious. And my dad is deep into that. So we just, I don't know. There's another point that I want to say is what you said, mentioned earlier. Is like we didn't like to talk to ourselves or being on the speakers, and I still don't. to this day listen to myself talking or watching myself on my
Mhm.
video. And that's why my podcast, I just go live. No filter, no editing, no nothing,
Mhm.
and once and done. And if you're speaking from the heart, you touch people.
Mhm. Thank
So
you for
that's
that
my,
message.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
thank you. Yeah.
that's why I see. And I love what you're doing. Ree, I think, more of us should be encouraging our race, our people. I mean, March is coming up, so Women's March, and then
Mhm.
May is coming up for our Heritage Month. So it's a lot to empower. And I think more and more, I think the younger generation, they don't have problem speaking
Speaking up.
up.
I mean, yeah, I think the thing for us, like when we say we talk about Asian women because we're both Asian, but we also talk to all of you that are there that feels like you don't have a voice, feels like
Yeah,
you have to hide yourself. And maybe you like that, and that's totally okay. Like, my son is a very solitary kind of individual. He does very well socially. He's always looked upon, admired to be like they're always seeking to be his friend. And when he was very, very little, at the age of about 3 and 4 years old, he says to me after having his friends over for a sleepover, he says to me, Mom, I love people, but I'm a person who likes to be alone. So I was like, wow, at 4 years old, this kid already know what he needs, which
yeah.
it took me a long time to figure out. But what I'm trying to say here, what we're trying to say is that
Be
if you
you,
have a
right?
story,
Be
yes,
you.
I
Be
know.
you.
I know. Honestly, there is no better way than to learn to love being in your own skin, what you can see Lee has it, and which I'm coming to fully embody within my own body this year, 43 and I said to myself, I made a vow. It is the first time in this year that I actually declare, like on social media, it is my birthday. You'll never hear me say that ever because before I used to take days off from work just to avoid people wishing me happy birthday or ask me question
Yeah,
about anything. But this year I said I am actually stepping into the embodiment of who Ree is and feeling lovely in my body and not like criticizing my body shape and all of that stuff. You know, as you age, your body changes. You no longer have the body of a 20-year-old, which is totally fine. But for me, I decided this year I want to fully be standing in my power, in my authentic self, and shine as brightly as possible. I know I still have the fear of like, oh my God, you're shining too bright. Like, tame it down, bring that thing down. And a part of me would want to shut it down, but like you, I choose to show up and to just be that light. It isn't about me, it is me showing the light so that other people can step into their power. And there is nothing wrong with genuinely, people will see it when you're being authentic and real, they'll feel it because people can spot phonies, right? Do you agree? They can spot it. If you're trying to pretend to be real, authentic, but you're not really embodying that and you're not comfortable in your own skin, people will detect it. And one of the biggest thing that I've learned over this year, particularly, is that I have tremendous high energy and I love it. And I'm bubbly
me
and I make
too.
friends very easily. I can carry any kind of topic. I'm extremely bright as an individual. So for me, it's like it comes easy. And sometimes that could be a little bit overpowering for other people. And I will totally respect that for sure. But I will never dim my light to appease somebody else. So what we're trying to say is if you have a voice, if you have a message you want to share with the world, your story is bigger than what you truly think it is. We don't give ourselves enough credit. So here Lee and I are standing in our power to show you what it is like to be a confident woman, loving herself, but we take care of our body. Lee exercise constantly. Lee eats well constantly. We try, and I try to do the same because I want to be at her age and rocking it, okay?
Oh my God. So, great message. Great message. You never need to dim yourself so other can shine because we all can shine together. And I think, very well said that be yourself. If
Yeah.
you're an introvert, you are the person who like the quietness. I'm drawing energy from other people. If I'm by myself, that either I'm sick or depressed or something's wrong with me. I love I love being a pack. I love to share. Now
Hmm.
my husband is on the other spectrum. He's totally content. Just him in the garden and him and his, YouTube, or him and his work, or
Hmm.
him and his project. He's totally fine. He does not have to see another human after coming home from work.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm constantly looking for a way to talk to people, to collaborate, to share idea, and to have fun, because
Yeah. Yeah.
life is without fun, and laughter is the best medicine. And when you share a story, sometimes it's humorous, sometimes you cry, sometimes you laugh. I mean, that gives me energy, and that kind of fill my cup. And whatever that, you got to figure out who
Hmm.
you are,
Hmm.
and then embracing it,
Yeah. That is
because
definitely the first
we
thing that
can't
you.
tell you what's good for you. I mean, if
Hmm.
you're not comfortable writing the story for publishing, I mean, I'm saying just write for yourself, let
Yeah.
it out.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and maybe it would be a legacy for your children. I mean, it's just, you don't have to be the best selling authors, or any author. Just get it out of the system. That's
Hmm.
all.
Hmm.
Pretty much,
And
that's all. Yeah.
yeah, that same message that you gave, it's the exact same message. Like I told Lee, I just finished writing my book, and so the book is called Choose You, Choose Happiness, which really stands in everything that I just took an oath for this year. But I want us to be able to break away from the mold of being the people pleaser to constantly being docile, obedient, dimming our light to actually give other people the spotlight. And it's okay to give other people the spotlight, but don't ever let yourself be completely forgotten and ignored, because deep down inside, everybody wants to be recognized in some form or another, wants to be seen. And so to say that you can still have your spot and do whatever is the right middle for you. Like for some people, they're just totally quiet. Like Lee's husband, he's totally content as he is, and that's great. But if that's not you and you don't feel content and you want to be seen and you want to speak, then speak. Find a way to exhibit that. And kind of like what Lee had mentioned, is she started with Toastmaster. I did Toastmaster as well because I wanted to practice on my public speaking. I was terrible. I mean, public speaking, it's like, I think it's number two of the thing that people fears the most. So I knew it's a skill set that I had to work on. But part of it is I got to take time to get to know who I am, because if I don't know me, it is really hard for other people to fulfill my need, to fulfill any kind of expectation that I may have, because we all have expectation. So allowing myself to fully come into my own body, taking the time to understand like what drives her, what wakes her up in the morning, what makes her happy, what makes her laugh, all of that things, it takes time, you know? And like just because we give you this ingredient of what may work for you, you have to put in your own sauce. Like, Lee and I are very similar in terms of personality. We're very bubbly, we have high energy, we can talk for days. There's so many things that cross our
Dangerous.
mind. Yeah, yeah. But we are attracted to each other like we instantly when we met, we knew like, okay, it's like one of my soul sister. We just know each other, we recognize each other. But if you are more of the quiet type, but you still want to be able to express yourself, and maybe that's just starting off slowly of writing in a journal, tracking yourself in some form or another. I actually started writing when I had this intuition and listened to that nudge feeling inside, because they always know what you need, your soul needs. But then we tell it so many times that we don't have to listen to it, or, So when I actually got the nudge feeling to write my book, the first thing I did was shut it down. I'm like, one, I don't know anything about writing a book. And for years, I always thought I was a horrible writer, like, writing articles or English thing. But that voice wouldn't go away after I left my 17 years marriage that was not healthy for me. And then I got that voice that said, you need to write a book. And I said to myself, after many, many times it spoke, I said to myself, I don't need to know the how. I just need to execute it. So let me align myself with people who will give me inspiration. Like Lee said, people who believe in you, people who are willing to lift you up, even if you didn't see your own strength, even if you didn't believe in your own possibility. Those are the people that will take you far in terms of your self-growth and success. So what I did was I aligned to people who said, I know how to write a book and let me show you the path. And that's what happened. And this is, it took 2 years to write that book, but it's about to be coming out. So I am so proud of it. Just like Lee is, she showed up. She decided, somebody said, you should write a book. She's like, what, me? You should be on TED Talk. What, me? She just shows up to it. She didn't let all of that fear kind of consume her. Jesus says, let me try it. Let me see where they can take me. And look, it's been 5 years since she written the book, 5 years since she did the podcast, and then she did TED Talk, and she's about to birth a second baby.
Well, you just don't know where that story is going to take you, who
Hmm.
you're going to meet, what opportunity going to open door for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I firmly believe that our story is meant to be a lesson for many people. I mean, it took my story that took all the way to Australia, took all
Hmm.
the way to Switzerland, took all the way to people that I never thought. And that's how I met you and
Hmm.
met many, many other people who have said that they never learned anything in the classroom about the Vietnam War or
Hmm.
the people. And my story is just so typical of the people at that era that a lot of people have no idea of what's going on. And even people who not even seeing the refugee part, and they was like, are you writing about my mother? Because we all have the same mother or the same father, someone out there. You know, the
Hmm.
relationship of a child with the parents, the siblings, that resonate with so many people. So you're not alone. Your
Hmm.
story, I mean, you think that's unique. Yes, it's uniquely yours, but it resonates with a lot of people who are in a similar situation. Like if you have a bad marriage, just listen how many people out there have bad marriages.
Hmm.
And if you're going through something that is, you know, terrible, you think that is so ordinary, but it is not.
Hmm.
It's the
Hmm.
extraordinary that make that shine. So yeah, be fierce,
Yes,
be
yes.
bold.
I love it. And boldness is actually where you stand. And I know that you have to go, so I want to be able to leave you with a last word of how people can actually get in touch with you and where they can learn more about you if they want to work with you, Lee.
So leetran.com, my name and my website. I have recently become an advocate for a financial
Mhm.
protection through my husband's atrocity, his sudden illness, and so many people out there that women particularly do not really step up to the financial game because we thought our husband is taking care of everything,
Yeah.
things in place. But when your husband is in the hospital waiting for you to help him to tell the doctor what his name and what's his birthday, and that's
Mhm.
when you have to realize that it is a 50-50 chances for you to take care of each other. And
Mhm.
if he's a breadwinner and he's the one who run the finance in the family, you need to step up and know everything there is to know. So I empower women to take the to take control of their finance just in case something happened in the family.
Mhm.
Um, I regularly have workshop. I will collaborate with a lot more people, and maybe we can whip
Mhm.
something together to do a
Mhm.
workshop for to help women. And my service here is just all about helping.
Mhm.
Um, and if you see my product, that's something that you want to learn more, particularly for the folks in United States, because uh, we can't work across the border, unfortunately. But I know we have a lot of audience who are in United States.
Mhm.
So yeah, leetran.com. You can reach me at lee@leetran.com. Friend me on Facebook if you want to do a little introduction and come to our podcast From Surviving to Thriving. It's a live stream podcast every Monday. And if you have a story to share, we'll be more than happy to feature you and share your lesson that you learned of thriving. We're not
Mm.
we talk a little bit about past, but we talk a lot more about the thriving part and inspire other people to be on the road to success and to be in the road of fulfillment, personal fulfillment and professional fulfillment.
Mhm. Thank you so much, Lee, for being here on my podcast. And I have always such tremendous admiration for you for all that you do, the amazing woman that you have come to embody and stepping in your full power to continue shining the light for all of us. And I can say for me, looking at you is like, to me, is like, if Lee is able to do it, then I have so much more possibility and freedom to explore even more. So thank you for being that light for me and to all of the people that are listening. On that note, guys, I want to wish you guys a fantastic day and keep shining. Do not let your circumstances determine your future. So thrive and make the best out of the situation.
I want to thank you, Ree, for allowing me to be here and throw 'em right back at you, Gar. You have done tremendous, great job, and I'm so proud of you. And if I can be any help to your community, just one phone call or one Zoom away.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Definitely reach out to Lee, guys, because she can really help you find your voice and also with financial because you want to be able to be well prepared when it comes to it. Most of us don't think about it until it's last minute. Well, it's too late. So reach out to Lee.
I coach stories too, branding story, legacy story. Definitely.
Yes. Perfect.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.
Bye.